Hello, Logan here, joined by Apps from Dimp Digital. We are here to review Yakuza 0. Apps, how you doing?
Good, thanks, you.
Yeah, good. Let's kick this off. I will put my cards on the table first and say I haven't got a clue what Yakuza 0 is all about, or that franchise, so it's all over to you on this one. But if you want to get your cards on the table and give us a rundown for the ladies and gents at home.
Yeah, I can't guarantee I can accurately describe what this game is because it is quite strange. So don't be betting that you'll have a better understanding after this waffle. You might know a few things, but it's a very unique game. And like you, before encountering this and playing it, I had no experience with Yakuza. I'd heard good things about it. I'd heard in various circles that they're interesting games. But Yakuza 0 being a prequel was a great opportunity for me to kind of jump in and get started, because at the moment we're on the brink of Yakuza 6 coming out. So if I wanted to be looking at that, there's 5 others there lurking, and because they're quite heavily narrative focused, I thought I can't be jumping in there. Yakuza 0 required no previous knowledge, so it was a very easy decision to dive in. But it is a third person action adventure game, and you control 2 protagonists through this. I'm going to completely butcher their names, but it's Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima. And you
Both English.
Yeah, English as you like. John Smith's brothers, I think. And obviously it's set in Japan. It's a Japanese game set in, I think it's in the 2 fictional districts of Tokyo. I don't think they're real life places, but it's based on a Tokyo setting, and there's 2 open world locations to explore. So it's very unique, and I mean that because I've not really played anything else quite like it. It's very over the top. It's very arcadey in not only sometimes of its story and its characters and cartoony, but also the gameplay. But it just seems to work. You've got a mainline story to follow. You've got tons of mini games to play and a load of side quests. And in its simplest form, I guess really this is like a 3D brawler, because usually every conflict you have and an encounter you have is settled by you fighting 1 or more enemies hand to hand. And each of your 2 protagonists have 3 unique fighting styles that you can switch between on the fly. You can level these up, you can learn new skills. And it's impossible to really wrap this game up in a nutshell, but to me it is a 3D brawler with very strong narrative focus and tons of optional content for you to dive into.
Right, so it's kind of like an open world bit of fun then, is that fair?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
It's totally, it's the tone of it is very light-hearted. The story goes places and is quite heavy at times, but it's always got that kind of lingering tone underneath it where it is just a little bit wacky. So don't come in expecting a high level of seriousness in the game. It does have its moments, but overall, just in the way that the game plays, you immediately think, okay, this is an out and out kind of arcade game at that sense.
Okay, so it sounds sort of like typical, if you like, sort of Japanese bit of fun then.
Yeah, you could describe it that. It is a lot of fun, but it's very deep in terms of its kind of its mechanics and whatnot. But yeah, I can't level another comparison or a marker for those that haven't played it or even seen it, like to say, oh, it's a bit like this game, because I simply don't have that point of reference. Yakuza is Yakuza at the end of the day. So
what is the story about then? If you give us a little rundown of that.
Yeah, so you said you've got 2 characters that you're taking control of. They're both set in the 2 different districts, so you don't swap between them freely. You swap between them during the kind of the set piece moments of the story and when you need to. You've got Kiryu, who's kind of like an up and coming Yakuza member, and he essentially is framed for a crime that's not his, and you're tasked with clearing your name, and it's bringing kind of bad reputation towards the Yakuza family. The Yakuza in Japan is essentially the mafia for the long and short of it. And then you've got Majima, who's set in another district, and he was a member of the Yakuza as well, and he's asked to carry out a hit to get back into it. So he'd previously done something that had kind of had him banished or punished in a way, and he's his bosses or his underbosses say, look, if you want to get back in, if you kill this person, we'll let you back in. And that kind of those starting points kind of go off and intertwine and end up going in all sorts of different directions. It's very over the top, but again, it fits right in with the tone of the game, and it's quite an epic story when I think about what happened during it and where you start and where you end up and what goes on in between. It's very, very it's like a saga almost. It reminds me of like a really big, narrative focused game, and the kinds of things that take place are certainly. It packs a punch, and it's not just a throwaway companion to the gameplay. This is most certainly driven by its narrative.
Interesting. So it's not just a good bit of fun. It's got something a little bit deeper than that. So that sounds like it's pretty unique in that regard.
Yes, absolutely.
So what does it look like? Does it look amazing graphically, or does it sacrifice a little bit of that for the fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously?
Yeah, this is probably one of its weaker points in terms of its presentation and performance. It doesn't look that great, and one reason for that is because this is originally a PlayStation 3 game as well as a PlayStation 4 game, so it actually come out on both sets of consoles to play. So you can tell that it's one of those games. There's things like the textures around the city when you look at them, they're very plain and not a bit rubbish really. You have a few bits and pieces, a few frame drops now and again when there's a lot going on the screen, which is rare, but often you sometimes do get a large crowd of people that you need to fight, and it can take a bit of a hit there. And you get smaller things like NPCs kind of just disappearing or fading out when you trigger a new fight scene. So when you encounter someone, people kind of rush over and come around in a circle, but the people that are in the circle, that the NPCs who aren't involved, can't just walk away and then slowly fade out in the distance. So on that sense, it's probably one of its weaker points, definitely, is the presentation and performance. But the cutscenes, well, I'll say the cutscenes, the top-notch cutscenes are amazing. They really are. So they look beautiful, they run beautiful, and they're directed, brilliantly. It reminds me of the old days of the Metal Gear Solid cutscenes that are taking place. They're long, yes, they're long, but they're engaging, and they're great to sit back and watch. And one criticism with that is that not all of the cutscenes are created equally. There's kind of an inconsistent presentation to this. You've got the top quality cinematics, like I mentioned, are fantastic. Then you've got kind of in-engine voiced ones, normally when two people are having a conversation, which are okay, but you obviously take a bit of a visual downgrade because you're in the game then. Then you've got in-engine non-voiced ones, so you're reading the text along the bottom, and you're like, okay, fine. Then you've got this weird graphic novel style, which does not fit with the game at all. There's it will show stills of the two characters and then the words and the coming out afterwards, and you're kind of like, this is a little bit weird. I don't understand why there's so many different variants to the cutscenes and how they're presented. And one final thing, this is Japanese. It's voiced in Japanese, so subtitles all the way.
All right, that's interesting. It's unusual for games to have so many different varieties of trying to tell the story. They normally stick to one kind of narrative of doing that.
Yeah, usually what you'll get is the cinematics that are kind of taken out of engine and given like a real polish up. Then you have in-engine pieces, but this has got 4 different ways. And when you get to the stages where there's no, where people are just standing there talking to one another and you're reading the text and there's no voice to go along with it, even though I can't understand it, those get a little bit long-winded and make things a lot wordier than they ought to be.
It ain't a book, mate.
No, it's not a
game, isn't it?
I think because there's so much stuff in there with side quests, main quests, mini games, and other different subplots that you can go down. They just probably didn't have room to voice it all, have it all done properly. So they've just kind of gone, right, it's in there, but it's a bit of a read through.
You have to do that bit yourself, Jobby.
Yeah.
So we've mentioned already it's kind of an open world game, but what's I guess, how do you progress? How do you complete it? Is it clear down jobby, or do you have to do you need to level your character up? How does that bit work?
Yeah, so you've got a small open world, or two of them in fact, with the freedom to do as you please. So be that mini games, be that the main quest or the side quests that are there. The play area is quite small in comparison to open world games. Like you think of something like Horizon, or you think of even Grand Theft Auto and Zelda, and you think, "Cool, blimey, they're massive." These are the two areas in Yakuza 0 are nowhere near that size, but they're packed with detail, and I think that makes up for it in a way, having it quite dense. There's no driving, so you're not driving around these places. You're running around and you're brawling with people. And to level up your characters, you use money that you earn from doing the quests, doing side quests, mini games, fighting, and the mini games are quite infamous amongst Yakuza fans and people that have played the games. And to give you an example of some of the mini games that are there to give you a flavour of what you can go off and do. So you've got an arcade that you can go to, and it's a Sega arcade because this is developed and published by them. And there's games on there like Super Hang-On, Space Harrier, and also Outrun. These are fully emulated versions of those games. So you can go in the arcade and play Outrun, which is great. I've not played Outrun in about 2 decades. So it's great to go into the arcade and give that game a go. You can go fish. You can build and race your own remote control car if you want. There's phone dating there, which can lead to you getting a side quest or a mini story with a lady from the city and seeing where that goes. Baseball, dancing, karaoke, pool, darts. There's even more than that, but that's the sort of randomness that the game allows you to explore if you want to. There's tons of different things to get involved with, and that alongside the interesting side quests kind of give you an awful lot to do.
That's interesting. So you've mentioned there's quite a lot to do in there if you so choose. Does the game kind of control in a way that you feel like you can go off and do that, or does it kind of you think, oh, that's going to be aggro doing that, or it doesn't really play that well doing this, or did you find that generically it's all good?
No, the controls are good. I mean, they're simple but effective. Like generally, to break it down in its simplest form, you've got a strong attack and a quick attack and a grab attack, a block, and a dash. So you'll only really need those during the fight, but they're simple and effective controls. You build up like a momentum meter. The more you hit and don't get hit, that then can unlock more powerful moves when you're in a certain state, which is nice. So you can do a bit more of a devastation move. You can pick up weapons to assist you. You can equip weapons as well. You can buy or find weapons to equip during your fighting, which obviously increase the amount of damage you do. And it's great because everything feels really impactful and brutal. Like it's ultra violent, this game. Like not in terms of blood and guts and like people with their insides hanging out. I mean, in terms of he's grabbing someone's head and slamming it on the edge of a table, and looks like it's knocking his teeth out and stuff like that. But it's really it's good. As I said, go back to the word arcadey. It feels like a bit of a throwback in that sense, where it's simple but effective, and obviously you can build out your character's fight style with different moves to make it a little bit more interesting and to give yourself a better chance against the tougher enemies.
That's good. Sounds like good fun. You've mentioned already that it's all in Japanese,
Yep.
but has it got a really arcadey theme to it? Are you always going around with a little theme tune going on in the back? What's the sound like in it?
Yeah, soundtrack's good. Soundtrack's very good. It's like a techno kind of. It's set in. I think it's set in the late 80s. So you have that kind. That's one thing that I didn't mention earlier about the tone of it. It's kind of in that 80s tone, which is really nice. But it sounds good. Soundtrack's good. Obviously, the voice acting I can't understand. I don't speak Japanese, but it sounded like it was good. Like it fit the sort of melodrama that was going on. Lots of shouting and stuff like that. So yeah, I think on that front, in terms of the sound effects they use for the fights, they're all fit nicely. The soundtrack's great, and the voice acting to me seemed good.
That's good. So one thing we haven't mentioned yet is how much did you pick this up for, and how long did you spend on it, and did you find that good value?
I think I spent £22 on it. So it was later last year that I got it, and it took a little while to complete. I spent in the game probably about 40 to 50 hours, maybe just under 50. So there's great value there for a gamer who loves single player experiences. There's no kind of like online multiplayer modes other than I think you can do 2-player mini games for like darts, pool, the competitive ones, things like that, and karaoke you can even do, which is a bit strange. But for someone who's interested in a single player game, you've got, as I said, I've done nearly 50 hours of the game, and there was still lots more to do afterwards. It's the only fact I left it was because, you know me, I like to move on to the next game once I've had a good go at it and completed the game, essentially, completed the main campaign, and try something different. But if you're that person that only buys a handful of games a year and are looking for something to last you a long while, this definitely will fit the bill.
No, that's good. Sounds like a Biff sort of game.
I think, yeah, well, yeah, in that sense it would be, but he gets bored easy, so I don't know if he's got the guts for it.
So, what are your closing thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's wacky, it's zany, but it's refreshing, it's unique. There's a few things, like I said, in terms of the performance that aren't up to scratch. If you're easily offended also by women being portrayed in an overly sexualized way, you're probably going to have some problems with a few of the things where the game goes, in terms of, like, for example, one of the mini games is you can go to a fighting ring and bet on women catfighting. Now, the women are scantily clad, they're obviously very sexualized, massive boobs floating around, and that's a mini game. That's part of the game, and that's it's something that you don't often see in, dare I make this divide, but see in like Western games. I think it is a bit of a cultural thing there. So if you are easily offended by things like that, then perhaps this isn't the one for you. But in general, the story is excellent. The mini games are a great distraction. The side quests are funny. They're weird. They're interesting. And there's some really like epic boss battles to get through as well. It's all hand to hand, but when you're fighting a boss, they definitely ramp up the difficulty and give you a good challenge there. And yeah, it's a great buy for those that are looking for something completely out of left field, and also for returning fans. I can't see how you're not going to like this.
No, it's good. It sounds relatively positive, other than for the feminists. So
it hasn't got any other. I'm surprised it hasn't. I haven't seen many stories about it. But it's kind of. I feel like it's a Japanese game. Like, I don't know if you've seen like Dead or Alive and things like Dead or Alive Volleyball. They kind of just get left to do what they want, and I think in that case, Yakuza's kind of profited from the lack of interest on that front. That someone hasn't gone in there and gone, "What are you doing here?"
Just part of the course, isn't it? It's sort of just an acceptance.
Yeah. I mean, rightly or wrong, that's just how the culture seems to be from my completely ignorant and outside view. So it's not something that personally offended me, but I can definitely see those that are perhaps having an issue with it. But overall, that's a small part of an otherwise fantastic game. So you can make your mind up based on that, I guess, if it's something that could be an issue.
No, I think I kind of see where this might be going then. So, for our audience, should you buy it or bin it?
Fucking buy it.
There you go. And then the final piece, what grading does it get? Which seal of approval?
Yakuza 0 is going to get itself a gold.
Cool.
It's got shortcomings, but I think that the positives just completely stomp all over the negatives. It was a joy to play through, and it's made me like a fan of the series now. And it's given me a bit of a dilemma because, as I said, there's Yakuza 1 to 5 lurking, and
Off
Yakuza 6 coming out this. Well, the thing is, Yakuza 2 to 5 are only available on PS3 at the moment. I know there's a remake of 2 called Yakuza Kiwami coming. But Yakuza 1's been remade for the PlayStation 4. But yeah, going back, these games are like from PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and now finally PlayStation 4. So it's going to be, I haven't got a PlayStation 3, so I'm not going to have to play, at least 3 to 5 probably. But it might be one of those things where catch up on the story jobby, jump into 6 and enjoy, what it can offer in 2018.
Yakuza Complete Edition Remastered.
Yeah. That would be an absolute. It would be very long.
300 hours plus.
It probably would be.
Yeah. There's value for money if that ever come. I'd be surprised, but there you go. Right, well, we'll close this one down then. Another buy it from Apps and a gold seal of approval. Thanks for joining me.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
お前に一ついいことを教えといてやる。極道ってのはな、ボクシングとは違え。喧嘩に負けたやつが敗者になるんじゃねえ。最後まで張り続けられなかったやつが負けるんだよ。